Josh Allen or Drake Maye. We'll tell you who should be the number one pick in startup Superflex drafts next.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us the number one sports podcast network. And today's episode is presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. He is the Fantasy Football Hall of Famer, Michael Fabiano. And on today's show, we are going to conduct a round one Superflex mock draft. We're going to go through all 12 picks. And Fabs was lucky enough to give me the number one pick. So I have to make the toughest decision in the draft, who to take at pick 101. And if you've never done one of these Superflex drafts before, quarterbacks go incredibly early, right? I mean, we all know this. You can play two quarterbacks. Most every team does. So you're going to see the first round filled with quarterbacks. And I know he's older, and I know that Drake Maye is an ascending talent, but I'm still taking Josh Allen at pick 101, despite what Pagula and Brandon Bean look like on Wednesday during the press conference. He's just a player I trust the most in fantasy football right now.
I mean, he does it all. I remember when he came out of college, he reminded me a little bit of Cam Newton because of the size and the dual threat ability, but obviously, with a much better arm, better passing chops. And think about what Josh Allen has done. He has been a quarterback who has scored over 360 fantasy points nearly every year of his career, obviously beyond his first couple of seasons. And he's done it primarily without having any kind of alpha wide receiver at all, especially lately. And
especially not Keon Coleman, who Brandon Bean dunked all over yesterday, which was
how do you feel if you're Keon Coleman right now? I mean, I'd be wanting to get out of there because I
think Buffalo wants him out of there too.
Well, that's what happens when you get put on the inactive list when you're healthy for so many weeks. Something's going on behind the scenes there, Marcus, right? So, but Josh Allen, even though he's not as young as Drake Maye or, some other players, it doesn't matter. Quarterbacks can play until their late 30s. Look at Matthew Stafford. I'm not going to mention Tom Brady because he's a unicorn, but you can see quarterbacks go for well into their mid to late 30s and produce good numbers. So Josh Allen, to me, even though I love me some Drake Maye, is the clear number one choice here in a Superflex startup.
I think the only concern is, what is Josh Allen going to look like 3 years from now as a runner? Are they going to use him, on the goal line? Are they going to use him in short yardage? Is he going to take off with his legs as much as we're used to seeing? Because that's been a big part of his fantasy value. I think for him, he's such a good passer and pocket passer that I think he can change his game as he gets older. I don't worry about it right now. He's the best fantasy quarterback right now. I'm taking Josh Allen, which means at pick 102, where are you going, Fabs?
I love the Drake.
I know.
I'm going to go with the Drake. I wonder how many people actually get Seinfeld references anymore. I don't even know. But
probably not very many, honestly.
Oh, stop it. I'm sure Jerry would say different, but he was my breakout quarterback for 2025. He exceeded even my expectations, over 21 fantasy points per game, finished second in points behind only Josh Allen. And I don't think this was a fluke. I don't think this was a one-year wonder sort of situation. This kid is the goods. And he also did it without really a great number one. I mean, Stephon Diggs was okay. But if you look at Stephon Diggs' numbers, they were up and down. They were up and down. He didn't have that high-end alpha-type wide receiver. And maybe the Patriots focus on getting him one of those this offseason. I know A.J. Brown could be available. We'll see what happens there. Although A.J. Brown would look good in a Bills uniform as well. Anyways, Drake Maye is my guy. I love quarterbacks who can run with the football and can find success through the air, and he did both. He's 23. He'll be, 24 going into next season. This is a kid who has really improved his fantasy value in Superflex and in redraft, maybe than any other, even player, not even just quarterback, any other player in fantasy football.
Can I make a prediction with the Patriots moving forward? I don't think they're going to be super aggressive going out and getting a receiver because I think Kayshon Boutte has developed well this year. They drafted Kyle Williams. And listen, I know what you're going to say about Patriots receivers, but I think Kyle Williams has shown some flashes, right? Matt Collins will probably be back. It's not the best wide receiver core. I get it. But I think if they're going to make an upgrade, I would not be surprised if it's at the tight end position. And I could see New England being a team interested in Isaiah Likely in free agency and trying to give him somebody over the middle of the field that can make plays after the catch. That's just I think New England's going to target a tight end before they go after a receiver.
Regardless, they're going to bring in talent.
Correct.
And that will help Drake Maye. They're going to continue to build the offensive line. They started obviously in the draft last year with Campbell. So I'm feeling pretty good about Drake Maye. And what if he gets the Patriots to the Super Bowl? I mean, geez Louise, we're talking about a kid just from a fantasy standpoint right now. He's one step away from getting to a Super Bowl in year 2. That's impressive.
All right, pick 103. I'm taking Lamar Jackson. I know this was a down season. I know they're going to have a new coaching staff. But if you look at how Lamar has played really over the last 3 years, he's really developed as a passer. The passer rating is above 103 every single season since 2023. I am a little concerned about the rushing ability because he just didn't look like he had the same juice as he had over the last couple of years. Now, he was dealing with a lot of injuries, and I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. I also like, Fabs, that Zay Flowers has really developed into a good player, and now he's got somebody that he can trust in the passing game. Mark Andrews is whatever, but I think Lamar Jackson, even at pick 103, I know that feels high. I still feel great about him because he can win you a week whenever he's healthy.
Well, does it really feel high? I mean, it's Superflex, and it's Lamar Jackson. And he's coming off of his worst year since his rookie year.
Well, and the thing is, Fabs, and you know this from these Superflex leagues, even Lamar Jackson in a down year, you can't trade for these guys. They're almost impossible assets to acquire once you have them because there's only a finite number of quarterbacks and there's only a handful of these guys that are actually difference makers, and he's one.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll be interesting to see what the Ravens do with their coaching staff moving forward. I think regardless, Lamar Jackson is going to be bouncing back. Now, is he going to go for 400 fantasy points? No. I mean, he probably will never do that again. But I mean, he's mostly been right there with Josh Allen over the years. And I think that will, he was injured this past season. We all know that. I think he will bounce back and be just as good as he's been. Again, not over 400 fantasy points, but 350. I think you can probably lock that in every single year for the next few seasons.
All right, Fabs, you are on the clock at pick 104. Who you taking?
See, this one's tough because I typically want to go with a quarterback here, right? But when I'm looking at the quarterback position, what am I left with after the top 3? You're looking at Jayden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Caleb Williams, Jackson Dart, who, I dig him the most. I don't know that I want to draft any of those guys, though, over the number 1 wide receiver, who's 24 years old. Now, this would be between Bijan and Puka Nacua for me. And I love my running backs. But running backs have a shorter shelf life. And Puka Nacua, I mean, he looks like he's going to be the elite wide receiver to draft this upcoming season. And I know there's several. But I'm going to go with Puka Nacua here. It's close between Puka and Bijan. It really is. But I don't see, and maybe you can shed some light on this. Maybe I'm just blind to some of these other quarterbacks. I don't see Jayden Daniels being worth more than Puka, even in a super flex. I don't see Jalen Hurts or Jackson Dart or Caleb being more valuable than Puka Nacua in a super flex. I just don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong.
I disagree with that pick vehemently. And it has nothing to do with Puka because Puka is an awesome player. but it's the same thing. You get into these leagues and you start playing a year or two, and Puka could be the number 1, number 2 receiver, but it is so hard to acquire these quarterbacks that I think in a startup draft, you draft the quarterbacks, and then if you need to trade them for wide receiver help, you do that. You can't do it the other way around, which is why, Fabs, I think you're wrong taking Puka here at 104.
See, but I will be able to get QBs in rounds 2 and 3. So
maybe
I'll be fine. Listen, Marcus, how many quarterbacks come out of nowhere every year and put up great numbers? Like, I mean, it happens.
Not very many. We had Drake.
Not very many.
We had Drake Maye, but I think
Drake Maye, Trevor Lawrence this year. Brother, Jacoby Brissett was a top 10 quarterback for the second half of the season.
And he's not going to matter in Dynasty at all next year because he's going to be
How do you know? Who's the quarterback in Arizona? What if they bring him back?
He's not good.
But it doesn't even matter if it's not just Jacoby Brissett. It could be Tyler Shuck was awesome down the stretch.
Yeah, but in a Superflex draft,
quarterback can be a really difficult position to trust, man, outside of the top picks.
But in your rookie drafts, you're having to spend a high pick on Tyler Shuck. So it's not like he came out of nowhere. But that's all right. We're going to get to pick 105, who you left me a superstar at the quarterback position. We'll get to that next.
What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm.
This episode is brought to you by Game Time. We are closing in on the NFL season. We've got only 3 games left, but there's nothing like being at the game. And with these 3 games left, you're going to want to be there because of the crowd noise, the energy, cheering alongside other fans. It just makes the game feel different. Watching at home is amazing, but being there is something completely different. But the frustrating part has always been getting tickets, waiting in queues, dealing with logins, and watching prices change at checkout. But that's why the Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack of unlocking amazing NFL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. I was looking at the app today because I was just wanting to see how much the tickets were in Denver for this game against New England. And I was amazed at the great deals that were available. But my favorite part of the app is that you can see the exact view from your seat in the app before you buy. It takes the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today and get back to being there live. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen every single day. If you haven't done so already, check out the Everydayer Club. You're going to get ad-free episodes of this podcast compatible with all of your podcast apps for just $5 a month. Go to lockedondynasty.supercast.com to learn more or check out the link in the show notes. All right, Fabs, let's do pick 105. You left me Jalen Hurts, which I know Jalen Hurts has had. We could debate on how good of an actual player Jalen Hurts is, but from a fantasy perspective, he's incredible. Since 2021, 60 rushing touchdowns. He's had at least 400 rushing yards in each of the last 5 seasons. I know the rushing numbers went down a little bit this year. I expect them to kind of stable out a little bit. He's been a top 5 fantasy quarterback for each of the last 5 seasons. And maybe they lose AJ.
Wait. Was he this past season? He was 8th in points per game among quarterbacks.
Right. I'm saying outside of this season, right? Outside of the 2025. But you're still getting a top 10 quarterback, right? Like even in a bad Jalen Hurts season, you're still getting a top 10 quarterback. He's only 27 years old and he's on one of the best franchises in the league. Give me Jalen Hurts.
I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I'm a Cowboys fan. A begrudgingly one a Cowboys fan, you know that. I'm worried about Jalen Hurts' value next season because I'm kind of thinking the NFL is going to ban the tush push. And
I don't. Do you think I still think he'll be effective on quarterback
Marcus,
sneaks.
do you know the high percentage of his rushing touchdowns that are from the 1 yard line?
But do you think if
that goes away?
Do you think all of those touchdowns are going to go away? Because
I
just think
them, but I mean half. He already saw his touchdowns on the ground decline to 8. It was the first time in 4 years he hadn't hit double digits.
But think about it. We're still
talking
talking
about. What if AJ Brown's not there anymore? Dallas Goedert's a free agent. Saquon Barkley is now past his prime officially. So I don't even know if I took a quarterback there that it would be Jalen Hurts. So we can agree to disagree on this one. I think Jalen Hurts is declining from a fantasy perspective, and I'd kind of rather not. Would I not draft him in a Superflex in the first round? I'm not saying that, but I kind of like a couple of other quarterbacks ahead of him. And I'm if the tush push were illegal right now, would you have made that pick?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I would.
And here's the thing: I trust Philadelphia's organization to put together a better offensive line and figure out the wide receiver core. I'm not concerned. I don't know. Again, we can debate how good of an actual quarterback Jalen Hurts is, but from a fantasy asset and a dynasty asset, I just trust that Philadelphia is going to figure it out like they always do.
I mean, listen, they do have one of the best organizations out there. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. Am I bitter and jealous? Yes. Yes. In my own division. But so listen, I mean, I understand the pick. I do have my concerns that Jalen Hurts is going to start spiraling maybe downward in the next few years from a fantasy standpoint.
Not from a fantasy. I just hope from a Cowboy standpoint. Pick 106. You are on the clock.
See, now, because you went after me for taking Puka, me kind of being who I am, I almost want to take another non-quarterback here. Just
Go ahead.
To grind your gears. And so you're looking at, again, I mentioned them before. Do I take Jayden Daniels here? Phenomenal in his rookie year. Last year, injured and averaged 16 points per game. And maybe it's just me. It probably is just me. I am so concerned that we're looking at Robert Griffin III again. That scares me, dude. That really scares me. I'm going Jahmyr Chase. Jahmyr Chase is 25 years old. He's one of the 2 elite wide receivers in the National Football League from a fantasy standpoint. It's Puka and it's Jahmyr Chase. And again, I'm going at this with the thought that I'm going to be able to get good quarterbacks in rounds 2 and 3, and I'm going to get an elite wide receiver here, and I'm going to have a huge advantage over everybody else. And once again, how many quarterbacks came off the waiver wire this year, even in Dynasty?
But not how many in
startable.
Superflex leagues? That's
Jacoby Brissett was absolutely on the waiver wire in a Superflex league this year because I had him.
But that's one.
I picked him up.
That's only one guy.
I picked him up off the waiver wire, and quarterbacks got hurt a bunch like this season. So you have other players who stepped in. Carson Wentz, was he on a roster in a Superflex league? I mean, he wasn't great, but he was decent. He was startable. Like it always happens like that. So I'm going to go with Jahmyr Chase here, and a little bit to grind Marcus's gears there because I know what I'm getting from him. I mean, he had over 300 points this past season. He had over 400 points the previous year. Even when Joe Burrow went down, when Jake Browning was in there, it wasn't great. But when Flacco came in there, it was dynamite. So I'm going to go elite wide receiver here. Again, I'm going to go against the grain, and I'm going to go with Jahmyr Chase. And now you can take Jayden Daniels.
No, I'm actually not. I'm actually glad that you took Chase, who I was considering with the last pick instead of Jalen Hurts. But I'm taking Jaxon Smith-Njigba here at pick 108. The reason why is 2 years younger. He's only 23. He's coming off an 1,800-yard season with 10 touchdowns, back-to-back seasons with 100 catches. I think Chase is the better overall player, but when I can get 2 years younger, I think I'm going to do that. I would have taken JSN over Puka. So again, you took Puka at 104. I think JSN at pick 107.
Well, I want to know why. And listen, I love JSN. He was my breakout wide receiver for the season. I love dudes that make me look good. Why him over Puka?
A couple things. You will always wonder with Puka, what is it going to look like when Matt Stafford's not there, right? And could you see if the Rams win the Super Bowl this year, could Matt Stafford hang it up?
Anything's possible.
It's possible. I have fewer injury concerns about JSN than I do Puka Nacua. That's the other part of it.
Okay.
And
I mean, listen, fair points.
Puka is such a violent player in a good way. Like, he is so physical, and I worry a little bit about how he's going to hold up. Again, they're so close. I prefer JSN like one spot ahead of them. To me, those are wide receivers 1 and wide receivers 2. And so for me, getting JSN at 107, I just feel like it's a value. And I'm willing. For me, Fabs, there's a big drop after the top 4 quarterbacks: Josh Allen, Drake Maye,
We're
Lamar
showing
Jackson,
that. Yes.
Jalen Hurts. But
I think yeah.
So that's why I'm taking JSN over Daniels, over Herbert, Burrow, those guys.
I don't disagree with you. I really don't. And I think this is a great exercise right now for those of you in Superflex leagues. I know quarterbacks are super, super valuable. There's no doubt about that. But there's question marks out there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I think Jalen Hurts has some question marks. Jayden Daniels certainly has question marks. Justin Herbert's got question marks. Although you got to love what they did with Mike McDaniel.
We'll get to him in a second.
Joe Burrow is injury prone. So, I mean, we're giving you guys some examples of why maybe you don't take a quarterback in round 1. And you look at the picks that have been made so far, you had 3 quarterbacks go with the first 3 picks and then a 4th. And so right now we're picking where, Marcus?
108. You're on the clock.
Okay, so 108 and 4 quarterbacks are off the board. And typically I would think maybe there'd be a little bit more than that. So again, I'm looking at Jayden Daniels. I'm looking at the same players. And I don't necessarily know if I want to go in that direction. And another thing too, Marcus just went with a wide receiver. So that means that I can go with Bijan Robinson here, and there's still going to be good quarterbacks out there for me in rounds 2 or 3. So I'm going to go Bijan here, the best running back in fantasy football. And now that you've got Kevin Stefanski calling the shots there, he has been very, very generous to running backs back to his time with the Cleveland Browns and even in Minnesota. I'm going to go Bijan here over the quarterbacks because I feel like we've got 3 wide receivers and now a running back in 4 of the first 8 picks. So the quarterback position has kind of dropped a little bit, Marcus, which is giving me more opportunities to get another quarterback again in round 2 and then maybe in round 3 again.
Who should be drafted higher between Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert? We'll get to that next.
If you've ever hired someone who looks good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Are you hiring? Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posted seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. Now, if I ever needed to hire someone for this show, which I would never do, Marcus, I'd go straight to Indeed and be very specific about what I need. Real experience, not just a resume buzzword. Instead of struggling to get your job post seen, Indeed sponsored jobs helps your listing stand out and reach quality candidates faster. Sponsored jobs boost your post to the people who are the best match for your role, and that makes a real difference. And according to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Do it the right way with Indeed.
This episode is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever before to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or any of the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out all those crazy forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. It's a huge time saver and gives you real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling it all. And for a limited time only, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your first appointment today. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We are conducting a round one Superflex mock draft. I'm on the clock at pick 109. This is where some quarterbacks need to start coming off the board.
Agreed.
Bijan's gone. I'm going to take Jayden Daniels. Last year was just a mess for so many different reasons. Terry McLaurin held out until late into training camp. He signed. When he came back, he wasn't healthy. Deebo Samuel was up and down. They've had injuries all across the offensive line. I think Daniels, now that he's healthy, they've got a new offensive coordinator. I think we're going to see a bounce back. And I think at pick 109, this is the right spot to gamble on him.
Yeah, I would agree. I didn't want him in the top 5 or even in the top 8. Right now, this is the best spot for him. And really, I think it was between like Jayden Daniels and probably Joe Burrow or Caleb Williams. And we're going to get to that. So for me, I think this is the right pick. I would say this. I think Caleb Williams could go ahead of Jayden Daniels in some Superflex startups.
I think the only issue for me is Ben Johnson loves to run the ball so much. And especially like inside the 5.
Caleb Williams was the QB6 this year, and he can run with the ball too.
He can. It's just that we've seen Ben Johnson has this track record of being very run heavy inside the 5. So you don't get a lot of these like short touchdowns. Matt Stafford. That's my only concern. But you are on the clock here at pick 110.
Okay. So now it boils down to basically for me, Caleb Williams or Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs is fantastic. I don't think David Montgomery is going to be back with the Lions next season. He has been a touchdown machine, but I think Caleb Williams is going to be a very good fantasy quarterback for a long, long time. He's 23 years old. You know, he'll be 24 this season. He has got Ben Johnson in his back pocket, or maybe, Ben Johnson has Caleb in his back pocket. Regardless, I see, and it's funny too, because like, have we ever said this about a Bears quarterback ever? Right? Like, think about the history of the Bears and their quarterbacks. It's almost as bad as the Jets. But I think Caleb Williams has finally broken the mold. And because of the huge age difference between him and Joe Burrow has not been durable, I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here over Jahmyr Gibbs and obviously the rest of the quarterbacks.
I'm taking Joe Burrow here at pick 110. And the big reason is he's just so good when he's healthy. And he's got the perfect setup, right? I thought the offensive line took some big steps forward in 2025. He's got his wide receivers locked in. That defense is going to be awful. Everything is set up for him to have another one of these seasons where he's throwing for 4,500 yards and 35 plus touchdowns. The only concern is the injury part. But again, if I'm getting a player who, when they're healthy, is putting up top 3, top 4 numbers, I'm willing to deal with that at pick 110.
Yeah, he comes with risk for me, and I love Joe Burrow.
111 is right. I want to make sure I got that right.
Is there not a little bit of doubt in your mind about how long he plays football?
I'm more concerned about Justin Herbert than I am Burrow.
No, I'm talking about Burrow deciding that football's not fun for him anymore, and he just walks away like Andrew.
Yes, I worry more about Herbert than I do Burrow.
You think Herbert would walk away?
I think what the Chargers have done with Herbert over the last couple of years and how much he's been banged up, to me, it looks like again, we're all just speculating here, but I think it looks like the joy has been sucked out of the game for Herbert, where at least I know Burrow is so competitive, and I think he trained so hard to get back from that foot injury. I worry more about Herbert than I do Burrow.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
All right.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been a thought for me, but I get it.
I mean, look at what Herbert had to deal with in the second half of the year.
I get it. No, I understand. Yeah.
And he was getting the crap beaten out of him every single game. And then they have a bad postseason and everybody blames him. So Again, we're trying to psychoanalyze these quarterbacks, which we're not doing. We're doing a mock draft. You were on the clock here at pick 112. Who you taking to finish out our mock?
The last pick in the draft for round 1. And remember, now I'm 12, which means that I get 13 too. So I will
It doesn't work that way, but go ahead.
I will get I will take Gibbs here. I'll take Jahmyr Gibbs because my next pick will be a quarterback. And I don't even know if it'll be Justin Herbert, to be quite honest with you. It might be somebody else. You know how I love me some Jackson Dart. So, Gibbs, now I think in the second half of the year, he was more of a feature back than he's ever been because they didn't use David Montgomery very much. New offense coordinator. I don't think DM's going to be there next season. Gibbs is just a touchdown machine. He's explosive. He's dynamic. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He gives you everything you need. And I think he's more valuable than any of the quarterbacks that are out there right now. So I'm going to go with Gibbs there with the last pick in the first round.
All right, so just to recap our mock draft, at pick 101, we had Josh Allen. Then we had Drake Maye, Lamar Jackson, 104, the first non-quarterback, Puka Nacua. Pick 105 was Jalen Hurts. 106 was Ja'Marr Chase. Jaxon Smith-Njigba, pick 107, wide receiver 3. First running back, Bijan Robinson at pick 108. We had Jayden Daniels at 109. What a fall for him considering at this time last year, being drafted as the second or third overall player. Caleb Williams at pick 110. Then at 111, we had Joe Burrow. Pick 112, we had Jahmyr Gibbs. How did we do? Let us know in the comments. We would love to hear where we messed up, where you think we got it right. Give us some positive feedback for once. Follow
positive
Fabs
feedback on social media. What? Are you crazy?
I think the biggest issue people are going to have here is there should be more quarterbacks going here in round 1, but neither of us wanted to reach, and we both feel pretty good that we can get like a Dak Prescott or a Jared Goff in the later rounds if you need to fill that QB2 spot. Follow Fabs on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. I'm at Marcus_Mosher. Check out the Everydayer Club if you haven't done so already. Check out the new 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel for your second listen. Check out the Locked On NFL podcast, and we will see you guys right back here tomorrow.